where should we start hour number 2 of the program? We welcome you back in the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. We've got you for one more hour here before is the weekend. Get ready for the Cardinals. It's nice that we have a little bit of a break with ASU, that we can kind of just take a step back. We can breathe after the run that this team took us on the last couple of weeks of the season. Kansas State, BYU, U of A, Iowa State, just a run to get to being the 4 seed, getting that bye, playing in the Peach Bowl here in a couple of weeks. It's nice to just have that break. And now we can watch Clemson, Texas, no problem, and just, doesn't matter who wins. You're going to play the winner regardless, and so you just can sit back, relax, and enjoy that game as a true college football fan. I will say it is nice that on a Football Friday, there's less stress here on the microphone having to talk about that team. We can go in a bunch of different directions here to start hour number 2. We can get back into the Diamondbacks and talk about what free agents are still available and which ones the Diamondbacks might be in or not in on. Maybe that's an impromptu edition of Get Off the Fence. I kind of want to start with the Phoenix Suns. We're going to do the Schubert 6 here, bottom of the hour. We will do that, and I'll give you the rest of the weekend slate. We've already got one in the bag with the Rams, so we're 1-0. We'll do the other 5 picks here at the bottom of the hour. I think I want to get back to the Phoenix Suns because I've been hard on them this week. I called them the modern-day SNL earlier in the week. I've been critical of where we're going with this team. And tonight, when they take on the Utah Jazz, Ryan Dunn's not on the injury report. Grayson Allen's not on the injury report. Yusuf Nurkic isn't on the injury report. There's just one guy that we're waiting to see. He's listed as probable, and that's Kevin Durant. But it looks like we are on pace. It looks like we are trending towards the direction of the Phoenix Suns being a fully healthy operation tonight when they take on the Utah Jazz. And so, what do we need to see? What is going to make us maybe not want to storm the gates the way we have been on the show the last couple of weeks? And I think that's tough because I know there's a pretty decent chance tonight that if everybody is healthy and this is fully operational tonight, that this is going to look like it did at the beginning of the season. This is going to look like what it looked like against the Lakers. It's going to be a team that can match up with anybody in the Western Conference and can dominate teams like the Utah Jazz. That's what it's going to look like if everybody's healthy because I've seen it. But is that enough for all of us? Is that enough for us to stand down? Is that enough for us to back off the criticism that this team has gotten? I've told you that if Kevin Durant's not playing, do something else with your time. Should be good. Because this team hasn't given you a reason to buy back in. And so here's what I want to see. One, I want to see us get through the game tonight and not have to come in here on Monday and talk about an injury report and talk about somebody being out for an extended period of time. That's what I would like, thing number 1. I'd like them to look good in the game. I expect that. But the third thing that I want can't be accomplished in one game. It can't be accomplished in 2 games. It can't be accomplished in a week. The third thing that I need to see from this team is their play has to put them in a very obvious direction. They either have to be healthy and play well enough to be in the bucket of entertaining the idea of trading for Jimmy Butler. Although we yesterday said that we didn't think that was very possible. But if you play well enough and you start to make up ground in the Western Conference and you move up the standings, you might have a stronger appetite, a stronger willpower to try to get a move like that done. So you play well, you play winning basketball, you start stockpiling wins, you put yourself firmly into one camp. Or, and I'm not rooting for this per se, but if it's going to continue to be a bumpy road and guys are going to continue to miss time and they are not going to win games, clearly put yourself in the direction of, we got to talk about blowing it up. The worst place this team can be, you talk about in sports all the time, you hate to be in purgatory. You hate to be in the middle. You either want to be a championship contender or you want to be a rebuilding team. Being in the middle is hard because being in the middle comes with tough decisions. Are we on the decline of being a championship caliber team? Do we need to blow it up and start to rebuild? Where truly are we? Are we a couple of moves away here on the margins of being a contender? Being in the middle sucks. It's the worst place you can be as a franchise in any of the 4 professional sports. It's the worst place to be. The Phoenix Suns need to avoid that spot. They need to avoid being in the middle. Their play over the next month or so need to firmly put them in one camp. The next handful of games, you want to call it 20 games, 15 games, needs to firmly put them in making trades, continuing to build, or we got to talk. It's like in a relationship. Option A, get married, start a family, go down that path. Path B, it's not you, it's me. This isn't working out. That's the crossroads that the Phoenix Suns could find themselves in. Put yourself in one of the camps. Just do it. Yes, being in the camp of it's not you, it's me, we got to blow this up, is not what this season was supposed to be. This was supposed to be a season of redemption. This was supposed to be a season of living up to expectations, making a playoff run, being a championship caliber organization. That's what it was supposed to be. But by putting yourself definitively into that other camp, it can allow us to, I think, more softly and more easily have the conversation of, you got to make some trades. And Kevin Durant might be available at the trade deadline. And maybe extending Kevin Durant isn't the right thing to do. And maybe it is time to move on from Devin Booker. And then you can trade Bradley Beal. If you, over the next 10, 15, 20 games, really, seriously, just dumpster fire. Just don't play well. The injuries pop up. We're doing this conversation of when Kevin Durant's coming back, and the cycle repeats itself. Then you put yourself into that camp. If Kevin Durant is healthy, they have a 15, 20 game stretch where it looks like it did at the start of the year, and they are firmly into the other camp, fine. But what do we need to see from the Phoenix Suns? We need a clear direction. We need a clear North Star to point to. Either we are still competing for the Western Conference this year, or our visions are towards a bigger, brighter future. It has to be one or the other. Because if we get to the middle of January and we are doing the same radio segments that we have been doing for the last 2 weeks, you're going to get bored. I'm going to get bored. We're going to be tired of it. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be unwatchable. Pick a direction. Their play is going to dictate that. And honestly, it feels kind of easy. If Kevin Durant is healthy, you know what camp this team's probably going to fall into. If it is the other camp, if it is the conversations about blowing it up, it's because, unfortunately, more injuries plagued this team. More injuries popped up. Kevin Durant came back, played a couple games, sidelined. Bradley Beal back on the shelf. Devin Booker missing some time. Whatever the case may be. It is very clear how we get to both of these paths. And the worst thing about this Suns team is you can very easily see it going both ways. You can easily see this team going on a run like they did to start the year, but you can also easily see Kevin Durant limping off the floor in a game late in the second half and going, oh no, here we go again. You can see both of those scenarios. You can see both of those visions. That's what's in front of the Phoenix Suns for the next 15, 20 games, is solidifying what direction they're going to go in, solidifying what our topics of conversation are going to be surrounding this team. Are we talking about a Western Conference contender, or are we talking about a lottery team because they can't stay healthy? And then we could talk about Jimmy Butler. And then we could talk about trade packages for Kevin Durant or Devin Booker or getting Bradley Beal to waive his no-trade clause. We can have all of those conversations. We can't because right now this team finds themselves in the middle. Because we've been on both sides of this roller coaster ride already to start the year. The first 10 games of the season, you thought this team was finals bound. Since then, You thought this team was going to be watching some ping pong balls. We, this week, asked for the real Cardinals to stand up, right? We had this conversation. The real Suns need to emerge. The difference between the two is we know who the real Suns are based on who is in the lineup. It's pretty easy. And a lot of this team is down to a 36-year-old, oft-injured superstar. It's Kevin Durant's health. That's what it boils down to. So tonight, we start to answer that question. That is the lens to look at Suns basketball. The next 10 to 20 games will decide the direction of this team, which path they should go down. And so we are not going to ride the wave of each individual game result. We will react to injury news as it happens, but the North Star, the direction of this team, needs to be decided over the next 15 to 20 games. By the time we get to, let's say, the middle of January, and they have a tough stretch to end December. They play the Nuggets on Christmas. They have some really tough matchups to close out the month. And so they're getting Kevin Durant back tonight, it looks like. And they end the month Denver, Dallas, Golden State, Memphis. That's how they close out the year. But I think by the time we get to the middle of January, January 14th, when they take on the Hawks, they go on a nice East Coast swing, the 14th through the 22nd. They play at Atlanta, at Washington, at Detroit, at Cleveland, at Brooklyn, before returning home to take on Washington. It's going to be around that time where I think we're going to know a lot about this team.